Okay, I believe we are live. Yay. All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome back to, let's see. Okay, there we go. All right. You guys know how I roll with this technology. Sometimes we're friends and sometimes we're foes, but we just keep it moving. Hey, Brandy. Hey there. Y'all come on in, say hi as you come in so that I know you're there. But welcome back to another episode. And actually, what is considered the last episode of 2021 for the Eventful Life TV Living Out Loud. I'll probably come next week or week after and just do a recap, kind of a year-end review. But this is our final episode with me bringing a mompreneur, woman entrepreneur, a guest here. And I really cannot believe that we are at the end of season 2. Like, y'all, really? This is where we are. So I'm just, first and foremost, shout out to you guys for always coming and hanging out with me. Every Thursday. We went from having lunch together every Thursday afternoon to having dinner. Okay. So thank you guys for hanging out and just always shooting feedback and things like that. It's so helpful and I'm so grateful for it. But anyway, I will do all that, all the thank yous and all that in the year-end review. So for tonight, I am excited. I'm excited to have another mompreneur. She is a social media guru, advertisement. She does advertisement content. And, we all know how important, even those of us who don't like it, okay, let's be honest, even those of us who don't like it, we still know that it is important for our business, right? Gotta have it. It's one of those, it's one of those catch 22s. Gotta have it. Don't like it, but gotta have it, right? So, but luckily we have people like Anne-Marie who are out here showing us how to make the most of it, even if we don't like it, how to make the most of it so that it can work for us and for our business. And so I'm excited to have her here because you know what? We got 2 more weeks before we say farewell to 2021. And I know I've already started seeing the posts, honey. They are hot and heavy with, okay, here's what you need to do in your business for 2022. Here's what you need to plan for in 2022. Have you already sat down and thought of your goals for 2022? I have already seen the posts, y'all. Part of me is like,
Right, like let us have the end of the year.
yes, right. And so we're not even there yet, but I get it. So Anne-Marie, welcome. Thank you for saying yes to coming on the Eventful Life TV.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be your season finale.
That's right. That's right. We're closing it out with a bang because I knew our conversation was going to be delicious, especially as we just share some of our own experiences about, being in business this year, right? Or even the culmination of years and, what we're looking at, taking with us into 2022. Better yet, what we're looking at leaving.
Yes.
Okay, because there's a whole lot that I'm like, nope, you could stay right
I'm
here.
leaving a lot in 21.
Yes, that's right. That should be on a shirt.
Yep.
So before we dive into the meat and potatoes of our conversation tonight, first and foremost, I always like to have my guests start off by just sharing a little bit about your own journey, because that is one of the things that the Eventful Life TV Living Out Loud is all about, is really, our guests being able to share how they got started or what their path looked like that led them to where they are. Because a lot of times we don't talk as much about that, usually because we had a few hiccups in the road or, we had some
Yep.
things that made us, do a U-turn or whatever the case may
Mhm.
be. But, in this space, I believe that those are the things that actually help us, those are the things
Absolutely.
that actually make us realize like, oh girl, you too, me too.
Yeah.
So let's start
Totally.
there and have you share, just how did you get on this journey or this path of, becoming an expert in social media and content?
Absolutely. So I started freelancing in social media 12 years ago ish, around there.
Okay.
Um, and it was while I was working in music publishing. So like my undergrad degree
Awesome.
was in music industry. I worked in music publishing, not at all related to this in the least. Um,
So interesting though.
yeah,
There's so many women who come on this show and they're like, yeah, like I went to school to be a doctor, but yeah, I am a yoga instructor. Like I'm just like,
yeah,
no.
right, right. It's like, yeah, I learned a lot of life lessons in college, but not much
Right,
that applies to this career. Um,
right.
and so, yep, so I started freelancing with organic social back then. Um, and it was much less complicated than it is now. Like there were just fewer options. It
Sure.
was Facebook and LinkedIn. Um, and that was pretty
And
much
that was it.
it. Those were the two like main like business profiles that people would have. Um,
Right.
and it was still the beginning of like most companies you talk to, or at least half the companies that I would talk to, they didn't have a Facebook page. Like they didn't
Mm,
have anything. Um, and so I would start helping them out, like helping small businesses, just posting on setting up their accounts and then just
yeah.
posting on it and helping them understand the value in getting content out there and showing their expertise. Um, but something that I very quickly ran into was the fact that they did not understand the value in it. It was like, okay, well,
Mm,
there's no way to, am I getting clients from this? I don't know. So
right.
I started looking for different ways that I could help them figure out that value and like uh, with what business owners need, which is dollar numbers. Like, how
Right.
much
Right.
money is this making me? Is this important? And so that's really the path that I started down with social, helping with organic content and helping them prove that, yes, this is working, or
Mhm.
sometimes, no,
No.
it's not. Like, this is,
Right.
because it's not
Right.
going to work for everybody and every platform isn't right for every business.
That's
Um, and so when advertising came around for social, I started playing around with that. And honestly, advertising dollars are a lot easier to prove the return on than organic. And so that's
right.
really why I kind of went down that path initially. And I mean, now I like it. I mean, obviously, like I enjoy doing it. It's
Mhm.
fun
Mhm.
and I love content and I love helping businesses. But over the years that I've gone back and forth, I've worked with agencies and I've worked in-house with brands and
Mm.
really bouncing around quite a
Yeah.
bit, like back and forth between freelancing full time and then being a full-time employee. Because I mean, in life, you have different needs at different times, right? Like
That's right.
sometimes
Your priorities
that,
shift.
right, sometimes the benefits and the stability are the most important thing.
Right.
Um, and sometimes you have more availability to take risks.
Right.
Um,
Right. That's so
and
true.
so once my daughter was born, she's 4 now. That was when the last time that I went full time on my own. Like
Okay.
multiple clients, never looking back, that type of deal, because
Yes.
I was like, there's no way that a there's no way that a traditional job, like,
Yeah.
and pre-pandemic, most jobs were traditional jobs
Right.
of uh, like working in an
Yeah.
office.
Going
It was like,
into a 9 to 5, like going
yeah,
into the office, yeah,
yeah.
having to
So I was
travel
like,
back
you know
and
what? There's
forth.
there's no way that a job like that is going to provide me with the lifestyle that I'm looking for. Um,
Right. Right.
and so I knew I
Flexibility. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had to adjust. And over the years, I have gone back and forth with my own marketing, with how I'm putting my messaging forward and what I'm
Yeah.
presenting myself as. And I mean, at the end of the day, everything I've been doing is content marketing.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, okay, what are people really interested in right now? How can
Right.
I stay full-time working for myself?
Right.
That type of thing. And that's, I mean, I think that also like goes into kind of what we're talking about in making things work for you. Um,
Right. Right.
because it's
And she lives what she's preaching, because you see her baby over there. So she's not just talking the talk.
right. You see a tiny arm flailing about.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, and so yeah, I think while like I sometimes I worry that I've bounced around too much, at the end of the day, the core of what I'm doing has stayed the same, and
Yeah,
it's just making things work how I need them to work.
exactly. Yeah, and you bring up an interesting point, when you say, like, worried about bouncing around, right? Because I want to bring that up, because I think a lot of, especially women, I don't know about men, I can't speak for men, but I know women, we worry a lot of times about, whether we are going to be perceived as, bouncing around or scattered or
Flaky.
doing too much or
Mm-hmm.
flaky, which I wish I could
Yep.
take every single one of those words and ball them up and throw them in the trash.
Yep.
Because my thing is, you are supposed to figure out what works best for you
Hmm.
in your business. Like, that is why most women become entrepreneurs, because they wanted that flexibility and that freedom to
Hmm.
pursue their passion and what they're doing the way that they needed to do it. But yet we get into it, and then we're like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to do that because I see everybody doing this.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden we take away that freedom, or we don't have that freedom
Hmm.
anymore, because we've kind of pigeonholed ourselves to doing what we think we should be doing, for the
The
sake of not
should, right?
looking right, for the sake of not looking like we don't know what we're doing, but you
Yep.
don't. Like, in
Yes,
the beginning,
exactly.
you don't, and that's the reality. Like, that's the truth, and we should
Hmm.
just own that.
Yeah, and as we get
Oh,
further along in business too, I feel like so much of the time, I mean, I know it's true for me in that you can lose that trust in yourself and that trust
yeah,
that you do know what you're doing,
yeah,
because I've absolutely I mean, in the last year, there's been times that I've caught myself being like, "Oh, I'm only doing this thing because I saw someone else doing it successfully and I thought, "Oh, I guess that's how I'm supposed to do it." And then I had to
yes,
pull myself back in
that's
and be like,
right.
"No, this other thing is working. Like, why are we giving this
Right.
up?"
Right. It's like, this is working. Why are you
Yeah,
changing it to do what somebody else is doing that may not even work for you?
right?
Right. Yes, I think that's so good. And so let's dive into the second question that I have, which really is what we're talking about right now, which is, 2021 has been a doozy. It has
Mhm.
been probably one of the craziest, just most, if there was a schizophrenic year, like, yes, that would be 2021. Okay.
Mhm.
It's had the highest highs and the lowest lows. It
Yep.
has just really been all over the place. And going into 2022, my thought in this conversation was, what are we looking at in terms of how we set the tone for our business? And really, I mean, if you want to really, stretch it, we can say life, but what are we setting a tone for our business in particular, in terms of making sure that we're really being true to what we just said, which is what you need your business to be, right? Versus what you see everyone presenting as this is how you need to do business, right? So what
Right.
are we taking? What are we leaving? What are we tossing in the trash? Like, what are we doing? So
Yeah.
I'll let you go first, Anne Marie, if you have some thoughts,
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah. One big thing that I am leaving and that I hope other people leave as well is creating content for the sake of creating it.
Mm,
Because there is so much content out there right now,
yeah,
and it's only getting easier and easier to create that
yeah,
like minimum viable content.
yeah,
And so now the majority of content we see out there is fine. It's good. But in
right.
order to stand out, we should really just take our energy and focus on creating a few really good pieces of content and
That's good.
doing the things that I think the way that that most of us create the best content is by figuring out, okay, how do we like to create it? Do we like recording videos? Do we like writing? Do
Mm,
we like
that's
putting things in
good.
graphics? Because
Yeah.
that's going to be way easier for you to communicate in a
Yes,
way that you
yes.
enjoy, and focusing on that instead of thinking, I have to post on Facebook 5 times a week. I have to post on
Mm.
Instagram 3 times a day. I have to be on stories. I have to
So
be
you
on
just gonna
TikTok.
call me out like this, Emery, on my own show? Oh my gosh. But it's true, I
Yeah.
can remember a time where literally sitting down to do my business plan. As a part of my business plan, I'm looking at the
Mhm.
marketing piece and I'm like, okay, Facebook 5 days a week, it's crazy.
100%.
5 days a week,
Yeah, and I mean,
it's
I've totally
crazy.
been there too. I've been there this year thinking,
Yeah,
Okay, well, there's more content, so I have to put out more content in order
right.
to be seen." And I mean, I won't lie and say that, yes, putting out more content is going to technically get you in front of more people, but it will
Hmm.
exhaust you. So
Right.
that's like my biggest point on it is like, yes, more content will get you in front of more people because the
Right.
algorithm and
Sure. I
just
mean, that's just a numbers
math,
game
you'll
though,
get in front of
right?
more people.
Yeah, like the
But
more you put out, the more visibility just organically
ex-
you're gonna have. It's a
exactly.
numbers game.
But then like when you're creating it yourself, well, whether you're creating it yourself or outsourcing to someone like me who creates it
Yeah,
for you, it's it's still you're spending resources on it, whether it's your own
right,
time and energy or whether it's
right,
money, and it's not necessarily something that you need to do. Now,
right,
I'm not trying to put myself out of business here. Yes,
right,
outsourcing your content is a good idea
right,
a
right.
lot of the time,
She's
but
like, no, I like my job.
right, but like sometimes sometimes you don't need to hire someone to create 30 posts
Right,
a month.
right,
Look at
right.
your audience, see what they're responding to. And like I have a client right now that we started with, okay, we're going to post every single day in your Facebook group. But then when I went back and I looked at some testing that we had done, it's much better to do like once a week. We
Yeah,
get way more engagement, way more response, and we're making a better connection with the audience.
yeah,
And like the
yeah.
community is actually growing instead of
Growing.
just growing with numbers of people seeing it. It's growing with, okay, it's actually becoming a community.
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, you bring up a really valid point, which I think goes back to just the old saying of sometimes less is more,
Yep.
right? Like sometimes less is more. And I think if I had another word to just add in there with less and more, less is more, I would say less intentionally is more, because
Mhm.
that's the part I think sometimes we forget when we're like, okay, I need to do five posts, or like you said in your client's case, I need to post every single day so that I'm visible, they see me. But is it intentional? Like, are you just posting to be posting?
Mhm.
Is it intentional? Like, do you have value to add? Is
Right.
it showing your personality? Is it giving them a glimpse of who you are aside from just your business? You know what I mean? And I
Yes,
think
yes,
sometimes that gets lost in translation because the obligation of just posting becomes the focus.
right, right. And I think, just to jump off of that too, coming up with so many different posts is exhausting, and
Oh my gosh,
it's
yes.
also likely going to dilute your message,
Oh,
because
yeah.
like you're trying to come up with all of these new ideas and
Well,
all of
first
these
of
new things
all,
to
your brain
say.
don't even think like that. Like, I'm
Right,
like, my brain can't even hold all of that, 30 posts like in my brain
right,
for one day. Like, no way.
right,
And then we're
right.
wondering why at the end of the day we're like spent, like totally spent. That's why.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm seeing a big trend in, so with my clients, I am noticing more people are coming to me. I have a content repurposing service that I provide,
Hmm.
and I'm noticing more clients are coming to me, and when they're coming to me for social creation or email creation, or like some sort of
Hmm.
content creation, and then when I share with them this content repurposing, they're like, "Oh, that's what I want."
Right.
Because it's just taking what you've already created,
Yes.
taking these ideas that you've already had, just like,
Yes.
okay, let's just make more content with this.
Repurpose.
Like,
Yes. Yes. Repurpose and repackage. Like, I feel like
yes,
those should be top of mind, going into
right. And it
2022.
saves so much energy, and it saves, I mean, it saves money. Like it saves so many resources when
Yeah.
you're, I mean, and you can do it yourself. It's not even, you don't have to outsource it, but just going back and looking at things that you posted, like
Right.
if we're going into 2022, like go back into 2021, grab those things that did really well and
Right.
start
And
with that.
stop
You don't have
thinking
to start
that,
from
oh, I
scratch.
can't, I can't post that because they've already seen it. Do you know how much content people consume
Right.
in a day, let alone a year?
Yeah. And even the people that saw it and loved it, they're gonna like to see it again,
Right.
right?
They loved
They
it
didn't
then.
memorize it.
I, that it's funny though, because like that's literally how sometimes we think.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to retrain or unlearn,
Mhm.
some of these ideologies,
Yeah.
business ideologies that we have somehow absorbed, I don't know,
Right.
somehow absorbed. So no, that's a good one. So that's one that you're like, okay, leave here in 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say, if I had to give one, just leave in 2021. I mean, I just need the hustle culture to die. Like, I just need it to
Yeah.
go away into an
A
abyss.
100%.
And let me be clear, I used to be a part of that culture. So
Yeah.
so I need to go, but I'm reformed. So
Hmm.
so but it's because that's not sustainable. It's
Hmm.
not sustainable. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, it may get you ahead, but for how long? Yes, it may get you clients, but at what cost? Yes, it may get you to your next level, but are you going to your next level burnt out, beat up, and, beat down? Like, what are we willing to risk, or what are we willing to, how much are we willing to give up in order to burn the midnight oil at both ends?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I know it because I lived it, and it's that's not where it is.
Yeah.
So I just really, I really hope that moving into 2022, that many of us, especially women, many of us realize that we can still be successful while, taking care of ourselves, getting rest, doing, still getting the amount of work that we can actually handle. So the capacity of work that we can
Right.
actually handle, while still valuing ourselves enough to know that, hey, the work that I'm doing is enough,
Mhm.
and more work will come, but it'll come as I can take it. I don't have to pile it on in order to make it work.
Right.
So
And I think, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think planning our businesses that way too is really important because
Yes.
like there there are some business models that just won't be sustainable
Yeah.
without that hustle.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of us, I mean, speaking for myself with a 4-year-old, and that being a big reason why I am in business for myself,
Yeah.
there are definitely times when I find myself getting like inching up on that like hustle culture that
Sure.
like no,
Sure.
and like I'm working late like every night one week, and then
Yeah.
how am I showing up the next day for the rest of, or even for my work, but also for the rest of my life? Like
Right.
it's not, it's
Right.
negating the whole reason I'm doing it.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm like, you showing up, mad, angry, depleted, exhausted, in all these other areas of
Mhm.
your life, or even in some areas of your business. And it
Right.
doesn't serve anyone well. And let me
And then the
be
guilt
clear.
comes on top of that.
Exactly. You're right. Exactly. Like another layer of cement. Like we need that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But and the thing is I don't believe that just because if you don't subscribe to hustle culture anymore, that it doesn't mean that you won't have full days,
Mhm.
or even a full week. But I
Right.
believe it's about how you manage it, right?
Mhm.
Like how
Totally.
you manage what you have, even when the load gets full, makes an abundance of difference. Like I've still found myself days, weeks where I have been busy. But
Yeah.
because I know I'm about to go into this busy week, or I know I'm about to go into this busy day, I'm like, okay, let me recalibrate my expectations of what is or is not going to get done. Let me
Mhm.
communicate those expectations to the people around me,
Yeah.
because they need to know, like,
Right.
no, I won't be fixing dinner today.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's so true, because if you're not doing that, and you're not setting those expectations for yourself and for other people, then you're totally right. If you're not managing it that way, then
That's
those
how we bring more
inevitable busy
of it
times.
on us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
you're totally right.
ladies, I hope we leave that somewhere. And hold on, let me go to the comments, Anne Marie, because they're chatting it up out here without us. So putting it mildly, yes. Okay, so Brandy said putting it mildly. Irene said, oh, that's how I felt at the end of last year. Yes, I stayed super
Mm.
active online and saw the bookings coming in, but boy, was I tired. That's right. Yes, that's what we're doing now, cleaning up super old blogs. Good. So repurpose recycling. So it's not starting over from scratch, it's
Awesome.
recycling. That's right. That's right. I love Brandy said, so it's not starting over from scratch, it's recycling.
Yes.
That's right. Yes. You are never starting over from scratch, or you
Mm-mm.
should not ever be starting over from scratch. You
Right.
should always be starting, like you said, recycling, repurposing, restarting from where you left
Hmm.
off. So I think that's so good. Thanks, ladies, for chiming in. So, okay, so then, Amber, we're gonna go to, what are you taking with you into 2022 as it relates to business? What do you think we should be taking with us into 2022?
Oh,
I'm gonna have a hard
all right.
time with this one because I don't know if there's a lot that I want to take. No. And she's
She just gave me this look
definitely
like I
taking
know
her
what I'm
daughter
doing.
and her feet and everything into 2022.
Yes. Um, I'm going to take asking for help into
Mm,
2022.
that's
Put your feet
good.
down.
That's
Um,
good.
asking for help in both in my business and then outside of my business, because
Hmm.
I have found this year that asking for help outside of my business helped my business grow.
Yeah.
um, because I could focus more on, like, when I had work time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I focused more on my work, on the things that I need to get done, instead of having all of those things in the back of my head of I gotta figure, I gotta go grocery shopping, I gotta figure out dinner, I gotta clean the house, I gotta
Right.
do all of this.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the mental gymnastics of thinking about all the things you still gotta do.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
mean, and outsourcing things in business too, but like it's that balance of whether it's asking for help from a partner, from a family
Hmm.
member, or paying someone to do it.
Right, to do it.
I have
Yeah.
I found, I mean, there's certainly some things that don't always like pay back what what I pay out, but there are things that like I've tried different things, I've tried outsourcing different things, and then figuring out, okay, where is what am I giving away, or what am I
Yeah.
asking for help on that's letting me have my energy back and letting me
Right.
actually focus. Like
Right.
I started getting a meal delivery service,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and it's phenomenal not having to worry about dinner. And I mean,
Right.
sometimes when business isn't as good, I don't order it.
Right,
But then
right. Because you
when
can
it's
turn
good
it
and when
off
it's
and turn it back on,
exactly
right? Yeah. It
right,
doesn't
and
have to be
then
a all or nothing.
yeah, and I've had same with like, okay, having somebody come and clean, and just so I
Yeah,
know, like, okay, like bathrooms clean, floors
that's
are
right.
clean,
That's
like
right.
everything is technically clean, it'll feel good.
Yeah.
And I even hired a company to come and clean the dog poop out from my yard. It's because I was like,
Like,
you know what?
I don't do that. All right.
I don't have to worry about it. I have two
That's
big
right.
dogs. It was taking a while. So
Yeah.
I don't have to worry
Yeah.
about it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Talk about getting your hands dirty, right?
Right.
Like, no. But I think we underestimate the power of just the mental weight
Hmm.
and not having that on you,
Yeah.
and how that contributes. Because I heard you say, okay, it may not necessarily, be that it is a direct result of my income. But
Right.
my thing is, indirectly, it is because if you feel better and you're not exhausted by all these things you got to do outside of your business, then
Hmm.
your energy and your creativity is going to be
Yeah.
focused on doing things in your business. And that's going to make it 10 times better. You're going to be like, okay,
Absolutely.
yes, I'm ready. Like, let's do this. And then that
Yeah.
is in turn going to attract more clients. So
Right.
I think that we have to think about how all of those things line up
Mhm.
when we're looking at, because sometimes we're like, oh, well, it's just cooking. Oh, it's just cleaning up. No, but
Yeah.
those
It's
things are taxing mentally and physically.
exactly right. Exactly. Yes, it's the time it takes to do it, but then it's also knowing that you have to do it
Yes,
and
yes,
knowing that you're going to have to do it. And you're going
exactly.
to have to
And
do
and
it
prepare and
every single
prepare,
day.
right? Right. I'm like, and prepare. Like just thinking,
Yeah.
like you said, thinking about, okay, what am I gonna fix tonight?
Hmm.
And do I have the ingredients to fix it? What time do I need to get down there to fix it? How long is it going to take me to fix it? I mean, right there,
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, I'm done.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, I don't think that, I think a lot of the times we don't give ourselves en- enough credit or enough value maybe of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how much that weighs on us,
Yes.
um, and how much it can give us to not have it on our plate.
To not have it on our plate and not feel guilty about it. Like,
Yeah.
please, ladies, y'all, stop feeling guilty about having help
Hmm.
to help you, right? Having help that is going to help you have a more sustainable or have more joy. Let's put it that way. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, somebody. Have more joy in your personal and professional life because I know that the laundry is the enemy. And I do not like to do laundry. And
Yeah.
so just agonizing over the fact that I'm going to have to do laundry at some point is enough for me to be like, you know what? I'm okay with outsourcing it maybe every now and then so that I
Right.
don't have to think about it for this particular week or whatever,
Right,
right?
exactly. Like you were saying, like sometimes we know there's going to be a particularly busy week or something like
Yes,
that. And if we can prepare ahead of time, whether it's hiring someone or paying for something or just telling our family and saying, I will need more help this week.
yes, this week. That's right. That's right. 'Cause it's not gonna always be forever, forever and ever,
Mm,
amen. So
right.
I think that is a really good one. Okay, so Anne-Marie is taking the help with her into
Mhm.
2022. So all of y'all go get help. Okay. I think for me, I am taking, I have found, and I know it's a buzzword for many right now, but I have found these new things called boundaries, and I am just not willing to let them go because they have changed my life both personally and professionally
Yeah.
remarkably. I did not know that they existed, or if I knew they existed, I thought they were a bad thing.
Mhm.
And I have shifted my perspective. I've come to understand that it is not a bad thing. It is actually how you continue to show yourself love, how you continue to make sure that you're getting what you need, so that you can be the best that you can be for your business, for those around you,
Yeah.
and all those nagging things that sometimes we struggle with, like feeling like we need to people please, feeling like we can't say no, just the things that we innocently unfortunately grew up
Yeah.
learning. I have just really, really done my inner work this year and have realized that those things no longer serve me well. And so I am okay with releasing them into the universe in 2021, and they shall not come back.
So can you give an example of like a good boundary or maybe like a starter boundary for some of us?
Oh, I like that. A starter boundary. Yes, because you do have to start somewhere. Because at first you're like,
Hmm.
This feels weird. This feels
Right.
uncomfortable. So okay, so I'll give one personally, but then I'll also give one professionally. So I'll start personally. So personally, I actually did start setting some boundaries with my family. And sometimes people are like, really, like, how do you set boundaries with your family? Like, I thought, those are people you love, and I do. I love them. However, I also realized that in order for me to have the time that I needed for me, and you can probably identify with this, Anne-Marie, because you're a mom, you're a wife, you run a business. There probably is very little time that you are never thinking about what you need to do for somebody else versus what you need or
Right.
even what you want, because we don't take time to ask ourselves that,
Right.
not after all these different stages of life, right? And I knew that I was at this stage now where I need to have time for me. I need to have time where it's literally just for me, to focus on me, to make sure that I'm grounded, that I'm ready for the day. And in turn, indirectly, they're getting the very best and not the least, because when mommy is grounded, when I'm centered, when I'm focused for my day, when I feel like I've had my time, for me, my time looks like me going to boot camp. I go work out. I do my meditation, things like that. When I've had time for those things, then I show up very differently, right? I
Yeah.
show up more whole, more complete, more joyful. And those are really at the root. That's who I am.
Yeah.
But when we're not taking that time, or when I wasn't taking that time, then honey, I'm showing up all kind of ways.
Hmm. Yep.
And some of those ways you might not want. So that's what I say. It's not, I had to understand, and I hope some of my women out there who struggle with understanding boundaries and really understanding why, like, don't just feed into the buzzword of boundaries. Really understand at the root, what does that mean? and why is it so necessary, because I hope that those who do struggle with it, that you really look at it and say, you know what, I'm not being selfish by trying to figure out what I want and what I need at this stage of my life. Especially not when you make sure that everybody else is taken care of.
Right.
You need to take care of you too. Give yourself that same energy. So that's personally. Professionally, it looks like really only doing the work that I am passionate about and that I'm aligned with, right?
Mhm.
So I feel like sometimes when we don't have boundaries in our professional life, then we tend to take on just all the things, anything,
Yeah.
right? Anything, because we're just like, oh, well, yes, that sounds great. Or, oh, thank you for coming to me with that. I'll do it. Or, and when you have boundaries, all of a sudden, what works and what doesn't, what's aligned and what's not. And as soon as you take on something that's not aligned, you're like, ew, it does not feel good. Like your
Yeah.
body, you literally are rejecting it. Like,
Right.
why does this feel like a hot mess? And
Hmm.
it's because
Right.
I should have said no, thank you.
Yeah. And we've
Right?
all been there.
And
We've
we've
all been there.
all
We've
been
all said yes
there.
and then instantly regret.
Instantly regretted it. Like, that's the client who is going to wear you out.
Mhm. Yep.
And you're like, dang
100%.
it. Yes.
Yep.
So that's why we have to have boundaries professionally, so that when we say no, we're saying it from an authentic place, so that we don't have to come back around later and be like, dang it, this is terrible.
Right.
And then you end up, maybe saying no later on down the road because you might have to fire the client anyway.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's a worse no later. Yeah.
So yes, so that is my take with into 2022. So as we wrap up, because I know we're getting close to our time here, one last question. So I told you before we went live, one of the quotes that you shared with me that you kind of, your mantra or your motto is that there is no right way to do business. And I just loved that. Like I told you, I was like, oh, you know what? We're going to talk about this because, because I think that there is a lot of freedom in that statement. There is a lot of authenticity in that statement. And there is a lot of vulnerability in that statement too. So I really want you to share, if you will, what does there is no right way to do business, like, what does that mean to you?
To me, it means that everyone's best business is going to be different because
Mhm.
th there are so many people out there who are claiming they have the best way to, like, this is the way you're going to make $1 million, like, here's your
Right.
7-figure business, or like, make money in your sleep and all of this and blah blah blah. And they, like, even, it may absolutely work for them, and
Right.
it may absolutely work for a lot of people, but there are, I would say, 99% of those things I know will not work for me. I know it's not
Right.
going to fit with my
Right.
life,
Yeah.
because the we're constantly going to make mistakes. We're constantly learning,
Right.
and w- we can only have a right business if we're listening to ourselves and
Mm.
figuring out what we need.
Right.
It's it's impossible. I think it's impossible to really get that from someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have guidance from someone, for sure.
Right.
Guidance in terms of helping you figure things out, or
Right.
guidance of how to try different things.
Right. And
But
figure
there's
out what
no
works for
one size
you.
fits all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Because
good. It's the
even
one size
like
fits all.
between you, like with you and me,
Mhm.
we're both moms. We
Mhm.
both
Mhm.
run businesses.
Right. Right.
Um, we both market ourselves online.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to guarantee that we need two very different things from our
Right.
business, or not two different, we need 1,000 different things
Right.
from our businesses.
Right.
So even
Right.
though some of the core things about us and our businesses are the same,
Yeah.
we're not going to have the same right business, because that's not going
That's
to exist.
that's right. That's right. No, I love that. I love that. And you're spot on. It is really about figuring out, what I call your own recipe.
Hmm.
You may have some, like you said, you may have some similar ingredients. We might both have bread, we might both have water,
Hmm.
but some of the spices might be different. Some of the sauces might be different,
Yeah.
based on what you need for your business, and really in totality your life, because as business owners, especially as entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
our life is not too many steps away from the business. Like they really do
Right.
live closely together,
Yeah.
and so there's we would be remiss to think that one is not going to impact the other in some way, shape, or form.
Right. And as our lives change, we go through these different seasons
That's
of
right.
life. Like
Evolve, yeah.
like 5 years ago, my business would be like, what I needed from business was very different than it is today.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean, even what it was a year ago.
yeah.
A year ago, when everyone was at home, no one had childcare. It was very different what I needed from it then than
Woo!
what I need from it now that there's preschool.
Thank the Lord.
Right. Right, exactly. And I can take my business in a totally different way. And that was just like not at not at all what I needed then.
Right.
And so if I were to trying to follow any sort of right way to do business, I would just end up disappointed,
Yeah.
and feeling
Mm.
like I had wasted
Yeah.
something, time,
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
energy,
Or
resources.
even worse, that you like just completely failed, like,
Right.
oh, I must not be cut out to do business, which is sometimes what we do to ourselves when somebody else's formula doesn't work for us. Then
Mhm.
we think we project that onto ourselves and think,
Right, that
oh,
it's
there
us.
must be something wrong with me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like a couple of years ago, I made a big investment in a program, and I mean, it was the biggest investment I had made, this well, probably still, that I've made in my business.
Yeah.
And and I definitely had all those feelings when it didn't work for
Yeah.
me. And then
Yeah.
I started having that, like, well, was
Right.
she lying? Like, what is this?
Right.
And now, with some space away from it, I can see, like, no, it genuinely did work for her.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just wasn't something that was going to work for me.
For
And
me. Yeah.
saying, you know what, giving yourself that grace of, like, no, I couldn't have known that then.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
we make mistakes, and we have to try things to see if they're going to work
That's
or not.
and see if it's gonna work. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the name of the game. I mean,
Hmm.
literally, it is trial and error. Trial and error. I mean, I don't know anybody who has a successful business who did not go through trial and error on the way
Right.
to that success.
Exactly. And even once you have some sort of success, that trial and error is still going to continue, because
That's right.
especially, and I mean, I think I probably see it more than maybe some other people in terms of marketing and social
Hmm.
media, because
Hmm.
so many, those change so
I was
quickly
about to say, yeah, the
that, like,
algorithms and stuff like that change like
right. So,
every
like,
day. Yeah.
there's constantly failures
Right.
on social. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll have months that do terrible.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, it
Right.
seems like we're not getting in front of anybody. But
Exactly.
then it's like, you know what? Okay, we know this is not working right now, or we know this isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
And trying to frame that for ourselves so that it's not it's not a, I guess I'm terrible at this.
Right, right. But I like what you said. It's framing it, right?
Hmm.
So in always reframing. It's
Yeah.
not I'm terrible or I am the one that's doing bad. It's the strategy. It's the strategy that needs to change.
Right.
not me. I'm not bad. It's the strategy that there's opportunity there for me to change it, right?
Exactly.
So
To try
the
something else.
reframing is hugely important, and that's
Yeah.
for entrepreneurs overall. Like
Yeah.
we have to reframe and not beat ourselves up, because then we get in our head about it, and that
Yeah.
can totally spiral, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think really, really wise nuggets, guys. I hope this was helpful as we, close out this year. I think it's important, and y'all know me, I'm gonna push the envelope. I think it's important that we really give thought to what you want out of your business going into 2022. Start there and then work your way backwards. What is going to help you get to what you want out of your business in 2022? And then start putting the pieces together, right? But challenge yourself not to just dive in with a laundry list of things that you think you need to be doing or need to be adding or need to be taking away. Challenge yourself to not analyze or whatever you do at the end of the year, to not do it the same way you normally do. That's my challenge to each and every one of you. Okay. So with that, Anne-Marie, I would love for you to tell everyone how they can stay connected with you, how they can reach out to you, because one thing I do know is that social media, unfortunately, isn't going anywhere.
It is not. It might be changing, but it's not going anywhere.
That's right. That's right. It is here to stay. So at some point, the people are going to need you. So how do they reach out to you?
You can find me on my website at amobraskin.com. No, that's not a website. It is amobraskin.com is my website. But on Instagram, I'm at amobraskin. Those are the two best ways to get in touch with me. Send me a DM, send me an email, and try to use some of your old content again. See what happens. See, literally copy and paste it.
Yeah.
No one's going to notice. Try to reuse it. But if you want any help with that, please do reach out. I share tips about it on Instagram as well. I just actually published a blog post all about how to repurpose your content.
Oh, that's
So there will be some
awesome.
ideas in there.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. So make sure you guys head over to her Instagram, to her blog, and take a look at that information and reach out. Like I said, if that is something, she already talked about help. So if that is something you need help with, then she's here to help you. All right. Well, Anne-Marie, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on this evening. So glad we
Yeah.
had a chance to dive into this.
Oh,
And
me too. Thank you for
yeah,
having me. This was so fun.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. Like I say, I know that there are a million other things that you guys could be doing on your Thursday evenings, but the fact that you choose to show up and hang out, and just hopefully glean some wisdom here is something that I do not take for granted. So until next time, friends, I will see you next Thursday for our end of the year review, closing out 2021. I'll be sharing just, kind of some of our nuggets from this year, and then also some things to come for next year, which I'm truly excited about. So until then, remember, you can have it all. However, you have to be okay with having it on your terms and your time. All right, guys, be blessed, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.